Welcome back to the Gun Dungeon, guys. Sitting here cranking out some more of these Tree Hunter Blackouts, 110 grain Varmageddon loads. Pretty little round, pretty, like that black tip. Little screamers here. I'm a big fan of Supersonic 300 Blackouts. I'm not sure why, just am. I've always been a big fan of 7.62 by 3.9. This little round has potential to get real close to that. Plus, you don't have to deal with that tapered case or oddball bullets. But anyways, since we're reloading, figured today's topic, I was actually talking to a friend. He was asking me some questions. He said, you should just do a video on it. I was like, yeah, you're probably right. So I figured reloading and rambling would work out well for it. And what we're talking about is getting into reloading and the equipment selection, getting into reloading. And I'm going to tell you guys the same thing that I told him. Now, my first reloading press was this rock chucker sitting right back here. I still use it to this day. It was the kit that I got with it. It was a pretty good kit. Had a powder measure, loading tray, had a lube pad, which I don't use that anymore. Had some lube with it. Had a scale, a manual scale with it. A couple little other odds and ends, you know, basically everything you needed to get started, except for I didn't have a caliper, set of calipers with it. Most kits don't. And then anything to do with brass prep, like didn't have a tumbler or anything like that. I think it had it did come with a hand priming tool as well. I've got that laying around here somewhere. I don't use it anymore either. And then, but it does have the option to prime on the press, which I typically do most of the time on that press. But it was enough to get me started. Now, I would say any kit that you buy, look and see if it comes with calipers. I don't think many of them do, but that is a necessary tool in my opinion, because you need to be able to know your cartridge overall length. Now, when I first got it, I didn't have one, and what I done was essentially I used a factory cartridge to set my seating, my die, and then just kind of laid my reloaded round next to the factory round, so I knew I was the same overall length, so I knew I was safe. But that's not really how you want to do it. But anyways, if you're going to get into reloading, I would highly suggest just getting a basic single stage kit first. And then if you want to move to something a little bit faster, like say a turret press or a progressive press or something like that, you're still always going to use that single stage. Like I've been reloading a long time now, and I still use my single stage. Even if for nothing else, it's handy for brass prep. If you're just depriming, resizing, going through stuff like that. Like a lot of times I'll slide the indexing rod out of this turret press and use it like a single stage. But you know, you're going to use a single stage throughout your entire reloading career. You'll find a use for it. So I would recommend getting a good single stage kit. You know, the Lee stuff is good too. But most of the stuff that's in these kits, you're probably going to outgrow a lot of the stuff that comes in the kits. Like, you know, I haven't used my manual scales in a long time. I've switched to I've got a couple different digital scales. I've got the RCBS back here it's got a digital scale on it, powder measure, does it all automatically. You're going to outgrow a lot of that stuff, because you're going to want to buy things that's going to make things more convenient, and you're going to want to buy things that make things a little bit faster. It's just how we are. You're going to want to upgrade as you go. But to get started in the basics, a good single stage kit will get you rolling. But I wouldn't spend a whole big bunch of money on a very expensive single stage kit, because like I said, you're going to outgrow a lot of it, and you're going to replace piece by piece by piece by piece here and there. So to me, it makes sense to get like the Lee kit. Even though I went with the rock chucker, it was because I didn't know any better. If I was buying it myself, I think that was a Christmas gift when I was a kid or something. I think it was a Christmas gift, the kit was. But anyways, if I was buying it for myself these days, I would probably just buy a Lee single stage kit and go from there. That's probably what I would do. And then, like I said, the next upgrade, I wouldn't jump straight to something like this. A progressive press, you need to be a pretty experienced reloader to run a progressive safely. In my opinion, you need to know what to look for. You need to know, oh, something don't feel right. Oh, something don't look right. And that just comes with experience. You can't teach experience. And that just comes with time on the press, pulling the handle, learning. And I'm not talking 6 weeks or even 6 months. I mean, it takes some experience for something to just jump out at you. But you get a lot of that with a single stage. You get a lot of feel. And I know I'm making this sound a lot more in depth than what you think it probably is, but there's a lot of feel that goes on in reloading. And if something don't feel right, something feels a little off, you'll notice it. It is what it is. But after I got a good kit, first thing I would do, probably get a dowel calipers, of course. You're going to need a tumbler after that. That's probably the next thing I would purchase, because you want clean brass. Even if it's not super shiny brass, super polished brass, just a good vibratory tumbler works great to clean the brass, because you don't want to be scratching the inside of your dies with dirty brass, having a little bit of mud, sand, stuff like that on it. You want to get it at least clean. It don't have to be polished. It don't have to be super shiny with the flits and all that stuff. I like it that way. Most people like it that way, but it don't have to be that way. But you just want it clean. So I would get a tumbler, would be the next thing I would get. Now here's a thing with tumblers that you should probably think about. The first tumbler that I bought, it's that yellow one over there. I think it's a Lyman. So it has the slotted lid that you can use basically like a colander, so you can just flip it over, shake the media out, the brass stays in, keep shaking it, but it doesn't have a solid lid. So what I do is I put it in a tote and then put the lid on the tote, because when it's running, you'll get a lot of dust that comes out of that tumbler where it has the slotted lid on it, and that dust contains a lot of lead. So I don't like to just let that go into a room. And there's been a lot of talk about it on forums and stuff about, tumblers and how much lead exposure. Some people say there's none. Some people say there's a lot. If I was to assume, I would think that dust is very easy to breathe, and that's how you ingest lead. It's very easy to get on your hands and then into your mouth, and ingestion is the only way to take in lead. You're not going to get it on your skin and absorb it through your skin, and like that. You have to ingest it. But breathing it, and it being that fine dust particle from a tumbler, it's not worth the risk to me. So the next tumblers that I bought, that was the first one. I learned that after I bought it, so y'all are learning from my mistakes and experience. The next ones I bought was the Hornady ones, and they have a solid lid on them that you can use to tumble with. And then you take that lid off, and then there's a colander lid that you can put on, screw it on, and then shake out your media. Even when you're shaking out your media, I kind of keep my head back and keep my head out of the dust and hold my breath a little bit. And then, it's just one of those things. But if it's sitting there running for 4 hours, putting out dust a little bit at a time, you're probably not going to notice it a whole lot until you realize it's settled on everything in your room, which is what I did the first few times that I used it. So I would recommend getting a solid lid tumbler. The Hornady does come with a colander type lid that goes on the tumbler. If not, you'd have to get like a media separator. Frankfurt Arsenal stuff makes those. You can use a 5-gallon bucket and separate the media from the brass. But to me, the Hornady one makes sense because it has the lid that screws right on. So just a little food for thought on that. After a tumbler, the next thing you're going to want to get is probably a digital scale, just to make life a little easier, because manual scales are super reliable. They're accurate, they're super reliable, they're tough as nails. They're basically the single shot shotguns of the reloading world. But a digital scale is just super fast, super convenient. You can use check weights to make sure that your scale is calibrated. You can use the manual scale to make sure that your digital scale is calibrated. But I like digital scales just because it's boom, 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 you're done. You're not sitting there knocking your little your little weight back and forth trying to get it right and getting your arrow. And then the air conditioner kicks on, and it gets to blowing a little breeze and you start bouncing and all that. It's just, they're super reliable. They're super durable, but they're slow. That's the name of the game here. We're trying to make ammo. So if you want to, if it's just a relaxing thing that you want to spend your time doing, sure, whatever. Some people like that. I do sometimes. But a digital scale is going to speed things up a good little bit. These things. This was actually one donated by a viewer. Oh, Gary, Scuba Guy 007. He actually gave me this one. I like this really well. I have some singles, but this one's really cool. And it's got a lot. This is a case check gauge. This one don't have anything I'm reloading right now. But like, you can just check and make sure, drop your round in, make sure it's flush. I use, if I don't have one of these to check my rounds, my finished rounds, if I don't have a case check gauge, I'll just use the barrel of a gun, do the plunk test, whatever you want to call it, plunk test, just to make sure it's going to work. But those are super handy to have around. And you can get ones like that have a lot, or you can get singles, whatever. The oddball stuff's probably going to be in singles. So after that, you're guys, you're just starting to add what makes things more convenient for you. And what's always going to be more convenient for me isn't always what's going to be more convenient for you. You may absolutely hate the priming process. So you may want to get an actual press-mounted primer where you can just bam, 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 bam. Lee makes one of those. You may absolutely hate the powder charge part of it, and you're going to want something like that. That thing is fantastic. I love it. I hate that I waited so long to buy one of those. That's the Chargemaster Lite, if I do believe it. But I hate that I waited so long to buy one of those. It's fantastic. It's expensive, but it's fantastic. And it doesn't really add a lot of value other than convenience and maybe speed. It's not super fast, but maybe some speed. But, you know, everything beyond that, your basic kit, get you some calipers, get you a tumbler. Everything after that is just going to be stuff that's going to make life convenient for you, make things faster for you. So that's my input on how to start getting into reloading. I hope it's clear, probably clear as mud. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Until next time, guys, stay tuned.